A man now living in the afterlife, who gave his name as Charles Morgan, came through in a Leslie Flint seance. He described his passing out of his body from a stroke and being surprised and delighted when his deceased mother came to him. This is the fifth in a series of 5 videos that contains narrations of Charles Morgan's descriptions of finding himself out of his body, his reunion with his mother and father, and what his new life in the afterlife is like. Hello, I'm Dr. R. Craig Hogan, President of the Afterlife Research and Education Institute and Seek Reality Online. I'm the author of 8 books with the evidence you will come to the end of this life, but you will never die. Leslie Flint was a direct voice medium in the 20th century. A direct voice medium has the remarkable ability to sit in a darkened room, and voices come from an ectoplasmic voice box that forms on the medium's shoulder. Today we have over 2,000 recordings of both famous and ordinary people who spoke for as long as 45 minutes to people on this side of life sitting in the room with Flint. This video is the last in which a man named Charles Morgan spoke with Leslie Flint and the 2 people who recorded the seance who were sitting in the room with Flint. In this, the 5th video, Morgan talks about how humanity doesn't understand the truth about death and the afterlife. This is a narration of the words Morgan spoke, taken from the recordings of the Leslie Flint seance.
My hair was parted, and I remember seeing the coif that I had. I remembered no matter how much I used to brush my hair, those curls kept falling down just over my eye, and there I was in a suit that I remember so well. A pin-striped dark grey suit with a high collar. Oh, I remember myself so well in those days, and there I was dressed much the same, and I thought to myself, well, if I'm dead, why am I looking like I did in those days? I mean, why didn't I look as I did in George V's time, or even, for that matter, as a little child? It all seemed so weird, so mixed up. Ah, he said, don't worry about that. All you've got to think about is that you are you, and you're very much alive, and you've got no aches and pains. I said, well, look, Father, I never an ache or pain of any consequences in my life. I didn't even know that I was going to die. I didn't even know I had heart trouble. He said, you were lucky. He said, but you must be grateful that you didn't have aches and pains and sickness and all the rest of it. You're lucky that you came as you did. There you are. You can't help it. At the same time, you should be grateful. And anyway, we laughed and chatted away. And I began to feel that, I suppose, for the first time I began to accept it. I thought, well, I really have to accept that I'm dead. But why is there so much fascination with death? I remember I used to go to chapel in the old days. Mother was a great chapel girl and used to sing the hymns, and I used to find it all very entertaining as a boy. And later, as I got older, I began to think, well, it is a way of life. One accepts it, but I don't really believe in it. I read 1 or 2 books in my time. I read 1 or 2 things about what you term spiritualism. I'd heard something about this business before through spiritualism and all that nonsense. I never took it too seriously. My father said, he said, you're on the right track now, boy. We used to decry all this, you see, it was the work of the devil. But thank goodness me, what a difference it would make if people knew and understood about that. We wouldn't have been bewildered as you've been, and your mother and I and others were. We'd know what had happened. We'd understand more sincerely and deeply about these things. Tragedy is that we don't know these things on the earth, which is, I think, a great pity. Because I think if we knew these things and understood them, it would make such a vast difference to our lives when we were there. And also a great difference when we pass away from the world of reality. Anyway, he said, let's go sit down in front of the fire. I said, fire? I said, what do you want a fire here for if you're supposed to be in heaven? He says, we're in a condition of life, or a plane of life, where everything is very real and very natural to us. It is a form of heaven, perhaps, if you like. So my idea of heaven has always been this little house, the little garden, this new way of life. And that's what we've got here. I said, Father, you've been dead for about 25 or 30 years. He said, yes, that's nothing. You think of time, what is 20 or 25 years in time itself? I had to admit it wasn't very much when you think about it. He said, some people seem to think that in 25 years that you should know all the ins and outs and know everything. I'm content to be as I am. And eventually, I suppose, I should progress into a higher state of being, but this suits me. And when all the family are together again, the affairs will begin to make some changes. But I wanted to welcome you, and Mother wanted to welcome you back into the old home, so that when you came, you'd feel at home. You'd really feel that there was something to come to, something that you'd remember, something that was full of love, something which was so important to all of us. And here you are, back again as a family, and let's enjoy ourselves and be happy, and later on we'll think about other things.
Charles Morgan was delighted to find he was alive and well after his body had died. In the same way, you will come to the end of this life, but you will never die. Links to the other videos with Morgan describing his reunion with his mother and his life in the afterlife are in the descriptions below.